Hello, hi. Welcome back to our Kubernetes series. In this video, we'll be discussing on storage classes. What exactly the uh, scaling, why exactly scaling won't work only with persistent volume, and what is the storage class, how it resolves that issue, and how exactly it works, a step-by-step approach, and some key components how in storage class works together, like a storage class, persistent volume claim, persistent volume, provisioner. Okay, we'll be seeing how they together fit, and a quick storage classes like common classes both the cloud and on-prem, and also we'll be seeing why to use the storage classes and a real world example whenever let's say DB application that requesting a SSD, that means SSD storage class, how the request flows and why they that need a SSD or storage class, and a quick recap about the discussion. So without further, let's enter into the video and have the discussion. First thing, storage class is for dynamic storage provisioning in Kubernetes. So storage is created automatically on demand whenever it is required. So on a high level, here is how the storage class looks like. So we have a this is the dynamic provisioning of storage class from beginning. The entire flow looks like. Okay, so a pod that needs a storage, and developer or user creates a persistent volume claim, so and so specifications, and then that triggers a storage class. So it auto provisions the storage, and then that creates a persistent volume. Okay, now let us go into the problem. Let's understand first of all the problem. Why exactly the manual persistent volume creation doesn't scale? So first thing, the admins must manually create each and every persistent volume. So whenever the application needs a storage, admin must provide a disk or configure it and create a persistent volume object for that. Let's say we have a lot of application. It is obviously time consuming, and it is harder to manage persistent volume configurations and storage specifications for each and every applications, and it also slows down the deployments also. So the developers are blocked and waiting for the admins for provisioning the storage, and the velocity of devops will significantly lowers, and there might be a chances of human prone errors also. So whenever they write a disk size wrongly or some access mode wrongly, so this brings a uh, real chaos to the production environment, and there is no dynamic elasticity. So if the app needs more storage, suddenly we need to manually provision on each and every time. There is no dynamically with the persistent volume creation. Okay, so the solution for all these problems was storage class. So that tells the Kubernetes how to create storage automatically whenever the PVC is created or PVC is requested to. Okay, and without any manual work or intervention, the storage or persistent volume is created automatically. Okay, and whatever we just discussed here, those are the drawbacks without a storage class. And with the storage class we can achieve it, like Kubernetes will automatically provision the disk instantly, and uh, there is no chavos for maintaining it and managing it. Okay, now let us understand what is storage class. So storage class is going to define a type of storage. So it is like a menu for the storage options, like SSD, HDD, NFS, cloud managed. Each one is a storage class, and it enables a dynamic provision. That means whenever a persistent volume claim refers to a storage class, Kubernetes automatically creates a matching persistent volume. There is no admin need to involve for creating this, and also it uses a provisioner. That means it is a built-in plugin like AWS CBS that knows how to create the actual disk on the target platform, and also it referenced by the PVC. So here persistent volume claim will specifies the storage class name like fast SSD or HDD, and then Kubernetes will handles everything else, and also it works across the cloud providers. So same PVC YAML file will we are going to define the storage class per environment, then AWS or else local, whatever we want it to be. Okay, and for better understanding, simple analogy, you can think like a storage class is a restaurant menu. Okay, so each and every item is like a storage class like SSD, HDD, NFS. Those are different options you have. So if you, you are going to order it via the PVC, and here Kubernetes is a kitchen that prepares it automatically. And here is the example storage class YAML file. In the kind we are specifying storage class, and then we are giving the name, storage class name, and the provisioner, whatever will be the cloud provisioner or local. Okay, and then in the parameters we are going to define the type, fs type, and reclaim policy, whether need to delete. Okay, and then the PVC was going to reference this by name. Okay, and whatever name we are going to give, that was referenced in the PVC. Now let us understand how the storage class works, a step by step flow. So first of all, admin will create a storage class once. It is a one time activity, nowhere no further intervention was required. Here a storage class YAML is going to define a provisioner type, what is the disk type. I just shown one example, right? It's same, and that will be reused forever. Once it was created, then developers will create a PVC, persistent volume claim, that referencing the storage class, that includes the specification. PVC specifies the file size, specifies the size plus storage classes names, and we no need to know underlying disk details, everything. Okay, we just referencing in the PVC the uh, storage class name, that's it. Then Kubernetes will triggers the provisioner. Here Kubernetes will reads the storage class and calls the provisioner plugin. Let's say example AWS EBS, that creates a new EBS disk automatically. Okay, that is where provisioner does. And then persistent volume is created automatically, bound to persistent volume claim, as we discussed in previous videos. So Kubernetes will create the persistent volume object, and it binds to the persistent volume claim. Now the status will become PVC as a bound, and PV also bound in seconds. Okay, and then the finally pod is going to mount the persistent volume claim. That means the storage is ready to serve for the application. So the pods will get a slash data path, which was backed by the auto provisioned PV, and there is no manual step or manual intervention was required. All are done automatically. Okay, and it is a one-time activity where admin need to provision the storage class. Now let us see some key components, how they fit together, a kind of architecture layer wise. Okay, first thing, a blueprint, which is a storage class. A storage class is a blueprint. So storage class is going to define the type as well as the tier of the storage, and it sets a provisioner parameters as well as a reclaim policy, and it is going to return once and used many times, one time activity we can say. Okay, then the provisioner will come into picture. It is a layer 2 or second layer we can say. So it is going to, the provisioner was something auto creator we can say. Okay, so this is the plugin that physically creates the disk. Let's say example AWS EBS or Kubernetes uh, GCE. Okay, GCEDB. So it runs within the cluster, inside the cluster provisioners. Okay, then the next layer was persistent volume climb. So this is the request. So this was created by the developers. So it references the storage class by name, as well as it specifies the size plus access mode also. Triggers is going to auto provision this. Okay, so that is what the PVC. So then once the PVC request was done from the developer end, then PV will come into picture. So PV is something, a persistent volume which was automatically created. Okay, so uh, it is created automatically by the provisioner. So then it was bound to the PVC and used by the target pod. Okay, now let us see some common storage classes. So first thing, I mean there are some cloud as well as on-prem where we're discussing. The popular one was AWS, type was GP2, GP3. Okay, so Amazon EBS, it is a general purpose storage class, and here AWS Elastic Block Storage SSD tier, and GP3 is the modern default, and it is better for, it is going to give you a better performance and lower cost than the GP2, and it is used in EKS clusters. EKS is a cloud managed Elastic Kubernetes service, AWS cloud managed, especially for high input output SSD performance, and EKS default storage class. We are going to use this storage class, and likewise we have a AWS manager disk and Google also. We can choose or opt the AWS Azure manager disk whenever we need a standard or a premium SSD, or the work is in AKS native integration is required. We can opt the GCP if we want a DB standard or DB SSD, and GKE is the default storage class offered by the Google Cloud provider. Likewise, we do have NFS, which is a network file system based storage. So SSD also, which is a high performance local SSD, which is ultra low latency offers and maximum input output workloads. And likewise, we do have a HDD also, which is another storage tier. So for low cost per GB, we can opt this, and also backups and archival uh, process, we can use that. Now let us understand why to use the persistent volume. First thing, for automation. So automatic storage provisioning. Here developers are just creates a PVCs, and Kubernetes will provisions the disk in seconds. There is no or zero manual efforts from the admin end, and also it increases the speed. That means there is no waiting for admin team to create a persistent volume, and they have to write developers just writes the PVC, and then Kubernetes will automatically provision that, and the pod will deploy, and end-to-end automation times speed can be achieved. And better scalability also. That means one storage class will serve multiple or unlimited applications. So whenever one pod or some 1,000+ pods need a storage, the same class will handles it automatically. And also it choose the storage performance tiers also. So we can choose that. Okay, so SSD for databases, HDD for backups, NFS for file sharing. Write a tool for right job, we can say. Okay, and also we need to it decouples the app from the infrastructure. That means change your storage class without changing application code. Okay, and here is a just a quick comparison how exactly the storage class affects with respect to the work, like manual intervention, speed, as well as working at scale. Okay, and now let us see a real world example. A DB application requesting a SSD via the storage class. Let's understand the scenario. Let's say we have a high performance traffic PostgreSQL database that needs a fast SSD storage within the EKS cluster. Here, developers is just going to write a PVC. They require so and so specifications of storage, and uh, it is just a YAML specification, and they are not configuring any of the disk or any of the cloud provider storage details, everything. Okay. Then once they create it, storage class will trigger a AWS EBS provisioner. That means here Kubernetes is responsible. I mean Kubernetes will calls the EBS plugin, which creates a new GP3 SSD disk within the Kubernetes, AWS environment automatically, and then persistent volume will auto created and bound so and so storage disk to the PV which was created, and PVC is also bounded to the PV, and it will just take very less time, and the PostgreSQL pod will get the SSD storage instantly and mounts to the var lib PostgreSQL data, and it provides a high speed read write and the production ready readily. And as a final result, developer just need to write a YAML simple YAML specification. Then Kubernetes will provision an SSD disk and creates a persistent volume and mount it automatically. And this is entire workflow. Okay, developer creates the storage class triggered, and it calls the provisioner, and provisioner creates that, and then it automounts the PV, and your it was serving the database. Okay, and a quick summary what we just discussed. We discussed the storage class, persistent volume, persistent volume claim, and persistent volume. So storage class is something, a menu, as I said. It is a storage catalog or a storage menu. So it is going to list all the available storage options like SSD, HHD, HDD, NFS, and persistent volume claim. It is like a order request, the actual triggerer, we can say. So dev team will place an order, so and so storage I need. So it referenced the storage class by name, and then Kubernetes was responsible for creating the persistent volume. These are delivered storage, final storage. Okay, order arrival, we can say. So order arrival, what we have, a disk provisioned as well as it was ready to serve, and it reaches automatically with Kubernetes. And these are the some key takeaways out of this discussion. It automatically creates a persistent volume, and it referenced by a PVC YAML file, YAML configuration, and it uses the provisioner plugin for uh, storage creation. Okay, and also it works for multi-cloud compatibility. We can integrate, and there is a multiple storage classes like SSD, HDD, HDD. Okay, and storage like catalog we can say. Okay, and yeah, these are. And one final point out of this discussion was storage class. As I said, it is a menu, and the PVC is the order, and PV is what it gets delivered to you. So here Kubernetes is the automated kitchen. Everything was cooked and baked. Okay. In the upcoming video, we will be seeing on config maps, how exactly the configuration, data configuration, everything done within the Kubernetes. And I hope so you found some useful information out of this discussion, and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much for watching.